The colony of New Carthage was quiet, the kind of quiet that came only on worlds far from Earth, where days stretched long and nights brought nothing more dangerous than a whisper of wind against metal walls. The sun hung low in the orange sky, casting its light over rows of small homes in a wide schoolyard. Children laughed, their voices echoing across the colony square. Their parents worked in nearby fields and power stations, always keeping one ear tuned to the sound of their children's play. It was a simple life, a peaceful life, the kind of life humans had fought wars to protect. No one expected the sky to open at first. It was only a shimmer. It's like heat rising from the desert ground. A ripple in the upper atmosphere that some thought was nothing more than bad weather. But then the shimmer tore wide, as if someone had cut reality itself with a blade. From the wound came ships, dark, jagged ships. Their hulls burned with orange lights, their engines growled like beasts, and their shadows fell over the schoolyard. The children stopped laughing. Their teachers looked up, mouths open in horror. Parents came running. The first siren screamed, "Raiders!" Someone shouted, but these were not raiders. Raiders attacked with noise, with weapons firing. Raiders came to steal food, to grab supplies, and then to run. These ships came with silence. They hovered like predators, unmoving, watching, and then they struck. Lines of energy fell from their hulls. Beams of pale green light that wrapped around the children like chains. Dozens of them. Every child in the schoolyard screamed as the beams lifted them into the air. Their parents clawed at the light, pulling, fighting, but it was useless. The beams passed through flesh and bone as if they were mist, dragging the children upward. Mothers screamed until their voices broke. Fathers charged forward with rifles, firing useless bursts at the ships above. The bolts of plasma sparked harmlessly against dark shields. One man climbed the school roof, reaching for his daughter's hand, only to fall back as the ship pulled her away in less than 3 minutes. The schoolyard was empty. The children were gone. The ships closed their beams, pulling the captives into their holds. For a moment, the colony thought the nightmare was over. But the alien ships were not finished. They circled the colony once, slowly, deliberately, as though they wanted the humans to see their strength. Then, without a sound, the sky tore open. Again, and the ships vanished. The silence afterward was unbearable. Mothers fell to their knees. Fathers smashed rifles against the dirt. Teachers clung to one another, eyes wide with disbelief. The schoolyard that had been full of life and laughter only minutes before now stood empty, littered with dropped toys, half-written school books, and the echo of screams. The colony governor stumbled into the central command tower. His face was pale, his voice shaking as he shouted, "Signal Earth! Signal the Council! Now!" Communications officers rushed to their stations. The emergency beacon howled across the stars, bouncing from relay to relay, carrying the words that froze every listener's blood. "They took our children." Hours passed. The survivors waited for the Council's reply. The beacon was clear, the message undeniable. The Galactic Council had never ignored such a call before. Not when pirates raided colonies, not when disasters struck. They had promised humanity a place in the great alliance of species, a seat at the table of peace, but the Council said nothing. Not a single word returned. The colonists' grief turned into rage. Parents marched through the streets, shouting, demanding war. They demanded Earth's fleet come, demanded fire and steel rain upon whoever dared do this. But Earth's fleet was far, too far, weeks away at best. And the Council, the so-called guardians of justice, remained silent. Whispers began to spread. Whispers carried by traders who had seen ships like these before. Not pirates, not smugglers, but something worse. Something powerful. The Krail Dominion. A name spoken in hushed tones across the galaxy. A name tied to rumors of experiments, of disappearances, of worlds that vanished without explanation. No proof had ever been found, no charges ever brought before the Council, but everyone had heard the stories. Everyone feared them, and now humanity understood why. The governor stood before the surviving colonists. His voice was heavy, his eyes red with grief. This was not a raid. This was not piracy. Our children were taken by an empire that thinks itself untouchable. The Council fears them, but we do not. We are humans, and humans do not forgive those who steal our children. The crowd roared in reply. Mothers, fathers, soldiers, workers, all of them, raised their voices as one, a vow, a promise. A threat, revenge, far away, in Earth's fleet command, the news arrived like a knife to the heart. Admirals stared at the recordings from New Carthage, the shimmering sky, the jagged ships, the beams of light. They listened to the screams of parents, the desperate cries of children. One admiral whispered, "Who dares? Who dares take children of Earth?" Another answered with steel in her voice, "Whoever they are, they've made the greatest mistake of their lives." Orders spread across the Terran fleet. Warships readied, scouts prepared to hunt. Humanity would not rest, not until every child was returned. Not until the Dominion knew what it meant to steal from Earth. The galaxy had seen humanity fight wars before, but never like this. Never with this kind of fury, never with this kind of purpose. The silent raid had begun. And with it, so had humanity's wrath. The transmission from New Carthage spread across human space like fire and dry grass. Every colony, every ship, every settlement replayed the same horrifying footage. Children screaming as beams of alien light dragged them skyward. Parents clawing helplessly, and then the sudden silence when the ships vanished. On Earth, families crowded around screens, their faces pale with fear. Some cried. Some clenched fists in rage. And everywhere the same question burned in the air. Who dares take children of Earth? Earth's government wasted no time. A delegation of ambassadors, dressed in dark blue uniforms lined with silver thread, rushed into the Galactic Council's grand chamber. The chamber was vast, carved from crystal, and light its ceiling so high that sound seemed to vanish before it reached the top. Representatives from dozens of species filled the seats, scaled, feathered, furred, and strange forms that shimmered like smoke. When humans entered, the chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to them. Some eyes were cold, others full of unease. Ambassador Cara Juno stepped forward. Her voice shook, not from fear, but from fury carefully held back. "Our colony has been attacked. Our children taken. The Council promised protection. The Council promised justice. Where is your response?" Her words echoed through the chamber. For a long moment, no one answered. The silence was not ignorance. It was not confusion. It was fear. Cara's fists tightened. "You know who did this?" Still, silence. The humans looked at one another. On Earth, silence was sometimes strength. But here in the council chamber, silence was betrayal. Finally, one representative stirred. A tall insectoid being, its voice like clicking glass, spoke. "In broken common, you must let this go." The chamber rippled with unease. Cara's eyes narrowed. "Let it go? They took our children." Another delegate, a scaled reptilian, hissed softly. "The Krail Dominion is not to be challenged. Their fleets are older than your species' history. Their science is forbidden even to us. No one confronts them and survives." Whispers rose through the chamber. Words like dominion, forbidden, impossible, death. Cara's heart froze, so the rumors are true. Behind her, Admiral Hayes spoke. His uniform was sharp, his jaw set like stone, so you knew, you all knew. "And you said nothing while children screamed in cages." The reptilian shifted uneasily but did not reply. Cara slammed her hand against the speaking podium. "This council was built on unity, on peace. But when human children are stolen, you hide behind silence? You fear the Dominion more than you respect the law you swore to uphold? Still, silence." The chamber lights dimmed slightly, as if even the room itself recoiled from her words. Ambassador Cara let her eyes sweep across the delegates. Some looked away, others shifted nervously. None met her gaze, and in that silence, humanity understood. The council would not help them. Cara straightened. Her voice dropped lower, heavy with iron. "If the council refuses justice, then hear this. Humanity does not forgive. Humanity does not forget. We will find our children. We will hunt those who took them. And if the Krail Dominion stands in our way, then the Dominion will burn. The words cut through the silence like a blade. Gasps echoed. A bird-like delegate cried out, "Madness! You would doom your species." Admiral Hayes leaned forward, his voice quiet but deadly. "You think we fear doom? We are from Earth. We are Deathworlders. We were forged in fire and war long before you even knew our name. If the Dominion thinks they can take from us and walk free, then they will learn too late what it means to make an enemy of humanity." The chamber fell into chaos. Delegates shouted, wings flared, tails lashed against marble floors. Some cried for restraint, others for war. But the humans turned their backs on the chamber. They had their answer. The council was afraid, and humanity would stand alone. When Kara and Hayes returned, the news spread instantly. The council had refused. Humanity was alone. But instead of despair, fury burned hotter. Across Earth and the colonies, people filled the streets. They carried signs. They shouted into the skies, "Bring our children home. The council betrays us. Strike back." At Fleet Command, war councils formed overnight. Ships that had been idle were called to arms. Engineers worked without rest. Soldiers sharpened blades and checked rifles. Among them, whispers spread. This is not war. This is vengeance. Meanwhile, the galaxy trembled. The Krail Dominion was not a mystery. Every species knew the name, though none dared speak it loudly. They were old. Older than most civilizations still alive. Their technology was sharp and cruel, their science hidden in shadows. Rumors told of laboratories where screams never stopped, ships that vanished whole worlds, of fleets that attacked not for conquest, but for experiments. And now, humanity knew what the rest had feared to admit. The Dominion had stolen children before, from other worlds, from other species. But those species had bowed their heads. They had stayed silent, because to speak was to invite extinction. Humanity would not stay silent. The President of Earth appeared before a global broadcast. Behind her, flags of every colony and settlement flew. Her voice carried across every screen, every speaker, every channel. Today the Dominion has taken from us what is most precious. They believe we are weak. They believe we will fear them, as the Council does. But they do not understand humanity. We are not afraid, are not silent. We will bring our children home. The Dominion will know what it means to face Earth's fury. The world roared in answer. On New Carthage, the parents of the stolen children lit fires across the colony's ridge, flames burning through the night sky. Ships above recorded the message and broadcast it into the void. We are coming. Far away, in the cold halls of the Dominion, scientists prepared their experiments. They thought the galaxy's silence would protect them, as it always had. But they did not know Earth. They did not understand humanity. The silence had ended, and the war was about to begin. The Dominion ships were gone. The children were gone. But their cries still echoed in the minds of those who had seen the raid. On Earth, analysts replayed the footage 100 times, trying to trace the warp signature. Every second felt like a knife. Parents sat in silence, staring at screens, waiting for news. Soldiers whispered in mess halls, sharpening blades they might soon need. Humanity was awake, now awake, and burning. 3 weeks after the raid, a small Terran scout ship named Vigilant Dawn drifted at the edge of forbidden space. Its crew was tired, their eyes red from days without rest. They had scanned every fragment of the void, chasing trails that always vanished. Then it came. A faint whisper across comes. A broken frequency, distorted, almost meaningless. At first, the operator thought it was background radiation, but then he froze. It was a voice, not human, not alien either. It was high-pitched, broken by static, but there were words. Help us. The crew went still. Replay that, the captain ordered. The sound came again. This time clear enough to crush every doubt. Please, help us. They took us. A child's voice. Every soldier on board went cold. The captain of the Vigilant Dawn, Commander Rourke, stared at the signal on the screen. His jaw clenched. "This could be a trap," his first officer whispered. Rourke nodded. "Yes, but if it isn't?" Silence. The recording looped again. "Help us, please." The crew exchanged looks. No one wanted to admit it, but every single one of them knew. They would follow that signal, a trap or not, because humans don't abandon their children. The Vigilant Dawn followed the signal. It wasn't easy. The frequency was encrypted, bent around strange distortions. It led them into uncharted systems, regions of space other species dared not enter. Every hour, signal grew weaker, as if whoever sent it was fading away. The child's voice cracked, sometimes breaking into sobs. One night, the crew sat in silence while it played. No one touched their food. No one spoke. They just listened. And every man and woman swore silently that they would not fail. As they drew closer, patterns emerged. The Dominion hadn't even tried to hide the signal. To them, it was bait. A dare. A challenge. "They want us to come," Rourke said darkly. "They think we'll break against them like everyone else." His eyes hardened. "They don't know us." The ship accelerated. 2 days later, the Vigilant Dawn intercepted something new. Encrypted alien chatter. Not random words. Structured. Communication. The Dominion was speaking to itself. The crew translated what they could. What they heard made their blood run cold. Subjects secured. Experiment Phase 2 begins at cycle shift. Pain threshold higher than predicted. Unique resilience detected. If results prove stable, Dominion requests additional specimens. The words specimens and pain threshold stuck in every human ear. They weren't keeping the children alive for ransom. They were keeping them alive for experiments. And worse, they wanted more. The recordings spread back to Earth within hours. Politicians shouted in fury. Soldiers demanded deployment. Parents collapsed in tears, knowing their children were not only stolen, but suffering. The President of Earth spoke again, her face grim. "The Dominion believes we will break. They believe we will bow, as the Council has bowed. But we are not afraid. We are not silent. We are coming." Across the colonies, recruitment offices overflowed. Ordinary workers dropped tools and signed up for service. Engineers swore to build ships faster. Farmers handed food directly to soldiers, whispering, "Bring them home." Every human heart beat with the same rage as the Vigilant Dawn drew closer to the source of the signal they passed. Alien outposts. Not Dominion worlds, but neutral stations. The crew expected hostility. Instead, they found fear. Merchants closed their doors when humans walked past. Traders lowered their voices. One old alien, his eyes wide, whispered as the crew passed, "You are chasing shadows. The Dominion is death. Leave before they see you." Commander Rourke paused. "They've already seen us." The old alien shook his head. "Then your kind is doomed." Rourke leaned close, his voice a low growl. "No, they are." Finally, after weeks of pursuit, the Vigilant Dawn reached the edge of a dead star system. The signal pulsed strongly. Now, louder, almost desperate, the child's voice cried again and again, "Help us! Help us!" The crew's hearts burned with fury, but as they drew closer, another sound joined the signal. Alien laughter, broken, mocking, cold. The Dominion had left the cries unhidden on purpose. Taunt. A reminder that the galaxy feared them. But humanity wasn't the galaxy. Humanity didn't fear. Humanity fought as the Vigilant Dawn prepared to enter the system. Rourke stood before his crew. His voice was steady, though his eyes carried fire. "The Council won't help us. The galaxy thinks we'll break. The Dominion thinks we're prey. But we are human, and we don't stop. Not until our children are safe. Not until every cage is broken. Not until the Dominion learns the price of touching Earth." His words echoed through the ship, where every crew member stood straighter, every hand clenched tighter. The ship crossed the system's edge. The hunt had begun through the viewport. The crew saw it. A shattered planet, its surface cracked with glowing scars surrounded by warships, and high above the ruins, cages of light drifted in orbit, inside them teeny figures, children, and the Dominion's fleet waiting, hungry for battle. The vigilant dawn went silent, its crew staring at the horror before them. The captain whispered the words everyone was thinking. They've made a mistake. The system was dead. A shattered star lay at its center, nothing more than a black husk, its light stolen long ago. Planets around it were broken shells, their crusts torn open, glowing faintly with sickly energy. Dust clouds hung in space like ghosts, swirling around ancient wrecks of forgotten wars, and in the middle of that graveyard floated the Dominion. The vigilant dawn emerged from its stealth jump. Sensors stretched to their limit. What they saw froze every human heart. High above the cracked world, massive ships drifted in formation. Their hulls were jagged and cruel, shaped not for beauty or defense but for fear. Spikes jutted from their sides, glowing with red veins. Engines pulsed like hearts, but worse than the ships were the cages. Dozens of them, massive and glowing, hung in orbit like lanterns. Each one shimmered with cruel energy. Inside, small figures floated in zero-G. Some moved weakly, some clung to one another. The screams could not be heard, but every crew member knew who they were. The children, human children. Commander Rourke's hands clenched against the armrests of his chair. His voice was cold as iron. They're alive. The crew broke into whispers, tears in some eyes, rage in others, but then the coms crackled. A voice, smooth and mocking, cut through the silence. So, the humans followed the trail. On the central view screen appeared a figure. Tall, pale skin stretched thin across bones, with black eyes too large for its skull. Its mouth curled upward in a smile that carried no warmth. The Dominion commander, you came for your little ones. It said softly, admirable, predictable, but you will not take them back. Rourke rose from his chair, his face hard. Return them now, or your ships will burn. The alien laughed, a sound like broken glass. Do you think you frighten us, Deathworlder? Your council fears us. Your allies hide from us. Your children are nothing more than material nows, specimens for progress. You should be honored. Honored, Rourke spat. You've made a mistake. You can't survive. The Dominion commander tilted its head, studying him like an insect in a jar. Then it smiled wider. No, it is you who will not survive. Fire. The Dominion ships moved as one. Energy beams lashed out, slicing through the void. The vigilant dawn rolled hard, shields sparking under impact. Alarms screamed. Return fire, Rourke shouted. Missiles streaked into the black. Cannons roared. Explosions lit up the graveyard system. Dominion shields flashed red but held. There. Ships turned slowly, like predators circling prey, inside the cages. The children curled together, watching with terrified eyes as the battle raged around them. The Dominion didn't care. The cages floated in the line of fire, as if daring humanity to risk their own. Monsters, whispered one gunner, tears streaming down her face as she aimed carefully. Steady, Rourke barked. No stray shots. We don't harm our own. Not one child dies today. The battle dragged on, fire against fire, shields flaring. The vigilant dawn alone could not hold. But Rourke hadn't come only to fight. Prepare boarding teams, he ordered. His soldiers stood, armored in black and steel, weapons humming. Each one bore a patch on their arm, a circle of blue around, a small white Star-Earth's emblem of unity. They moved with purpose, their faces grim. Every one of them knew what was at stake. The dropships launched, cutting through debris, dodging beams. Dominion interceptors rose to meet them, but the vigilant dawn threw itself into the path, taking the hits. Hull plates melted. Metal screamed, but the ship held. The soldiers landed. Inside the broken planet's surface, the Dominion's lair stretched like a cancer. Vast laboratories carved from stone and steel pulsed with sick green light. Cages lined the walls, filled not only with human children but prisoners from a dozen other species. Their eyes were hollow, their bodies frail, The soldiers moved through the corridors, their boots heavy, their weapons ready. Shadows stretched along the walls. Alien guards hissed and charged, their weapons spitting fire. The humans met them head-on. The first shots echoed like thunder. Alien blood sprayed across the walls. The soldiers advanced without mercy. "Find the children," their commander roared. No one is left behind. Deeper inside they found the labs, tables stained with blood, machines that hummed with cruel energy. Vats filled with strange fluids, holding half-living creatures that twitched and moaned, and notes. Holograms filled with Dominion language. Translations flickered onto visors. Resilience unmatched. Pain threshold extreme. Potential weaponization high. The Dominion wasn't just experimenting. They were studying humanity, testing its children, measuring their ability to endure suffering. The soldiers felt sickness in their throats. Then rage. Pure rage. One Marine smashed a console with his rifle, sparks flying. "They're treating kids like numbers." Another whispered, "Then let's give them a final." Number 0. Alarms blared through the lair. Dominion forces poured in, their shrieks echoing down the halls. The humans fought back, room by room, step by bloody step. Every corner was a death trap, every hallway a gauntlet, but they advanced. Because behind every door, behind every cage, could be the children. And no force in the galaxy could stop humans from reaching them. Meanwhile, above the planet, the vigilant dawn was battered, its shields flickering. Smoke filled its halls. Crew clung to consoles, refusing to break. One officer turned to Rourke. "Sir, if we don't make it," Rourke shook his head. "We'll make it, and if we don't, Earth will. Send the signal. Tell them where we are. Tell them what we've seen." The message fired across the void, carrying images of cages, screams, and Dominion cruelty. By the time it reached Earth, every human would know, and humanity would come. On the planet below, the Marines reached a massive chamber. At its center stood the largest cage of all. Glowing with harsh green light, inside dozens of human children huddled together, their eyes wide, their faces pale. When they saw the soldiers, they cried out, pressing against the cage walls. The Marines froze, tears in their own eyes. "We found them," one whispered. But before they could move, the chamber door slammed shut. From the shadows stepped the Dominion commander, flanked by armored guards. His black eyes glittered with cruel delight. "Welcome to my lair, humans," it hissed. "You came for your young. Now you will die with them." The Marines raised their weapons, hearts pounding. The battle for the children had truly begun. The Dominion commander stood in the chamber of cages, black eyes glowing like void fire. Round it, alien guards hissed, weapons raised, claws scraping. Against armor, in the largest cage, human children clung to one another, their faces pale, their tiny hands pressing desperately against the glowing walls. The Marines stood between them and death. "Open that cage," growled Sergeant Vale, his rifle steady, "and no one has to die." The Dominion commander tilted its head and smiled. A smile too wide, too cold. "You came here to save them. Instead, you will watch them break. Their screams will echo across your worlds. Humanity will learn despair." The lights flickered. Red, the battle began. The Marines fired first. Thunder cracked as rifles spat blue fire, tearing through Dominion soldiers. The chamber filled with smoke and blood. Children screamed as beams struck the cage, sending sparks across their faces. "Hold the line," Vale roared. Dominion soldiers surged forward, blades gleaming, voices shrieking. They fought with speed, with cruelty, with a hunger to tear human flesh, but the Marines fought harder. Every shot was precise, every strike fueled not by duty alone, but by rage. They weren't just soldiers. They were parents, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts. They were family, and no one took family from Earth. Above the shattered planet, the vigilant dawn screamed through fire. The Dominion fleet had gathered, dozens of jagged ships encircling it, beams hammering its shields. The hull glowed with heat, cracks opening across its sides. Shields at 20%. an officer cried. Rourke's voice was iron. Keep them up. Hold the line. Marines are still inside. The Dominion admirals. Voice crackled across open channels. Terrans, your sacrifice means nothing. One ship cannot face a fleet. Rourke leaned forward. One ship can buy time. And time is all Earth needs. On cue, his cum officer shouted, multiple warp signatures inbound. The stars tore open. Earth's fleet arrived. From the black came giants. Terran warships, their hulls gleaming with steel and fury. Carriers, destroyers, dreadnoughts, the full weight of humanity's vengeance. Their engines burned blue like the wrath of gods. The Dominion fleet turned, sudden unease flashing through their formations. Then Earth opened fire. Missiles screamed across space. Railguns spat slugs the size of buildings. Plasma beams carved through alien shields. In seconds, Dominion ships that had stood unchallenged for centuries burst into flames, their wreckage spinning across the void. The galaxy had whispered that the Dominion was untouchable. But now, before the eyes of every listening outpost, they were bleeding, and it was humans drawing the blood. Back in the chamber, Marines fought with teeth bared. The Dominion commander hissed, weaving through fire, its hands glowing with cruel energy. One strike sent a Marine crashing against the wall, armor sparking. Sergeant Vale charged, firing point blank. The commander staggered but laughed, its body refusing to fall. Behind them, the children cried out again. One boy shouted through the cage, "Please, don't leave us!" Vale's heart cracked, rage flooding him. "Nobody's leaving you, kid." He slammed his rifle against the cage's lock, sparks flying. Nothing. The Dominion had designed it to resist everything. Need explosives here? Vale barked. Two Marines slapped charges against the glowing surface. Clear. Explosion. Rocked the chamber, smoke filling the air. For one heartbeat, the cage flickered. Then it held, stronger than before. The Dominion commander's voice slithered through the smoke. "You cannot break what we've built. These cages are eternal." Vale spat blood. "So are we." In orbit, the Terran fleet pressed the attack. Dominion flagship loomed, its size dwarfing every other vessel. Its cannons roared, blasting holes through Terran destroyers. Dozens of human ships burned, debris scattering like ashdot. But the Terran fleet didn't break. Admiral Hayes aboard the Resolute gave the order. "All ships advance. We take their flagship head-on." The fleet obeyed. Human ships surged forward, fearless, engines flaring. They closed the gap, fighting at knife's edge, ramming Dominion cruisers, boarding enemy decks. Marines poured into alien hulls, tearing through soldiers with fire and steel. One by one, Dominion ships fell. The fleet bled. But Earth's fury only grew stronger. On alien worlds, once silent in fear, rebellion sparked. Banners raised, messages reached Earth. "We will fight beside you. Your mercy gave us courage. Fury gave us strength." And where once humanity had stood alone, now voices across the stars began to whisper the same vow. Never again will the Dominion rule us. On the Resolute, Admiral Hayes gathered her officers. Her voice was tired, but her eyes blazed with determination. The Dominion thinks they can crush us with fear, but fear no longer belongs to them. It belongs to us. We will take it back. We will carry it to their homeworld, and we will show them the cost of touching Earth. Her final words echoed in every ear. We fight until every cage is broken. The galaxy would never forget New Carthage. It would never forget the sight of human children being dragged into the sky. It would never forget the silence of the Council. And now, it would never forget the day humanity struck back. The day humans not only saved their own, but gave freedom to others too afraid to ask for it. In bars, in temples, in ships crossing black space. The same words were spoken over and over. The humans remember, and so do we. The Dominion was vast, its fleets endless, its cruelty unmatched. But now, it had awakened something greater. Hope and with hope came war. Back in the lair, Vale's team pushed deeper, driving the commander back step by step. But every strike they landed seemed to heal, every wound fading in black fire. "This thing won't die," shouted a Marine. Vale snarled. "Everything dies. We just have to find how," the commander laughed, hurling another blast that shattered stone. "You cannot kill progress. You cannot kill the Dominion." Vale raised his rifle again. "Watch us." Above them, the battle shook the ground. Ceiling cracked, debris raining down. The cages flickered again, weak under the strain. One child pointed, hope breaking through tears. "It's failing. You're winning." The Marines rallied. Weapons roared louder. Blades flashed faster. For every human cut down, 2 more surged. Forward, in orbit, humanity's wrath was unstoppable, but costly. Dozens of Terran ships lay in pieces. Thousands of sailors had died. But not one ship turned away. Not one captain ordered retreat. Every death was another oath, another reason to fight harder. And when the Dominion flagship tried to flee, 3 Terran dreadnoughts rammed it at once. The explosion lit the void like a second sun. The flagship shattered. Cheers erupted across Cums. The Dominion fleet was breaking. On the surface, the Dominion commander reeled as its fleet died above. Its black eyes narrowed. "Impossible. You are nothing. You are prey." Vale pressed forward, rifle aimed between its eyes. "Then remember this. Prey doesn't fight back. Humans do." He pulled the trigger. The commander's skull snapped. Back. Black fire poured from the wound. It screamed, shaking the chamber. Staggered, collapsing to its knees. The Marines surged forward, unloading everything they had. Bullet, plasma, blade until the monster fell silent at last. The cages flickered, then shattered. Children tumbled into Marine arms, sobbing, clinging tight. Vale dropped his rifle, wrapping one girl in his arms. "You're safe now. You're going home." The chamber shook. The lair was collapsing. But none of them cared. They had won. As the Marines carried the children out, their Cums lit up. Admiral Hayes' voice roared through the static. "Dominion fleet destroyed. Extraction incoming. Get those kids aboard. We're bringing them home." But beneath the victory, unease lingered. The Dominion had fallen here, yes. But this was only one lair, one commander, one fleet, and in the shadows of the galaxy. Others were watching. The war had just begun. The Dominion lair was collapsing. Explosions. "Ow!" rumbled through its broken halls as smoke poured from the ceilings. Marines carried human children in their arms, sprinting down cracked corridors, their armor scorched, their lungs burning from the toxic air. But then they saw them. Not just humans. Cages stretched into the darkness, row after row. Inside were beings of every shape and kind. Feathered, scaled, furred, crystalline, glowing children, adults, entire families. Eyes wide with terror, faces pressed to bars. Their silent screams begged for the same rescue. And in that moment, humanity's soldiers understood. Earth was not the only victim. Sergeant Vale stopped at the center of the corridor, his rifle heavy in his hands, human children clinging to him. "Command." He growled into his cum. "We found more prisoners. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Non-human." Static hissed. Then Admiral Hayes' voice came, sharp and weary. "Your orders are clear. Secure the human children. Extract immediately. We don't have the strength to hold that world." Vale looked around at the cages. Dozens of eyes stared. Back at him, pleading, begging, silent. A clawed hand reached out through the bars, trembling. A young Marine whispered, "We can't just leave them." Vale's jaw tightened. "No, we can't." The Marines gathered, children huddled behind them. The question filled the chamber like a storm. If they freed only their own, humanity would save their blood, their families. It was practical. It was safe. But to leave the others to abandon thousands to the same fate, humans had sworn vengeance. Against would it not make them the same as the Council? The same as those who turned silent when New Carthage screamed for help? Vale's voice shook with fury. "If we walk away now, we're no better than the cowards who left us alone." Another Marine hesitated. Sergeant, we don't have ships big enough. Even if we free them, we can't take everyone. Vale looked at the cages again, at the eyes staring at him with desperate hope. Then we take as many as we can. We fight until the rest are free. In orbit, the Terran fleet was battered, but victorious. Dominion ships burned across the void, their flagship shattered, but smoke poured from Terran hulls as well. Thousands of sailors were dead. And the battle wasn't finished. Enforcements could arrive at any moment. On the Resolute, Admiral Hayes debated with her commanders. We cannot hold this system. Extraction must begin. But Admiral O'R Marines found other species imprisoned. The room went silent. Every officer understood what that meant. Hayes' eyes narrowed. If we free them, we declare open war. Not just vengeance for our children, but a crusade against the Dominion. Are we ready for that? The silence was heavy. Then Hayes slammed her hand against the table. Yes, we are. Back in the lair, the Marines planted charges along the cages. Explosions rocked the chamber, sparks flying as walls of energy shattered. Prisoners stumbled out, some collapsing, others roaring with joy. A feathered alien clutched Vale's arm, speaking in a language he didn't understand. The Marine just nodded. You're free. The children clung to the Marines tighter, wide-eyed. As they watched strangers pour into the halls, the Marines worked like machines, smashing locks, dragging survivors onto transports. Smoke thickened. The ground shook. But still, they freed more. It wasn't just rescue. It was defiance. Every cage that broke was another strike against the Dominion. Then the alarms. Changed reinforcements. Dominion warships were warping in, their jagged hulls slicing through space. More soldiers poured into the lair, shrieking in. Rage! Vale shouted over the chaos. Keep moving! Get them out! The Marines fought like demons, holding corridors with blood and steel. They carried not just human children now, but alien ones too.
Oh.
Some prisoners could barely walk. Marines lifted them onto their backs. Every extra life slowed them down. Every choice to save another meant risking their own, and yet not one Marine stopped, because the cost of mercy was heavy. But the cost of silence was worse. As Terran ships loaded prisoners by the hundreds, their cameras streamed everything. Across the galaxy, broadcasts lit up. The councils saw. The colonies saw. Ordinary people saw. They saw humans carrying not just their own, but every species they found. They saw Marines shielding alien children with their bodies. They saw Earth's fleet fighting not for conquest, but for freedom. And whispers began to spread. They save everyone. They fight for us all. They are not like the Council. The lair collapsed fully now, fire consuming the corridors. Marines staggered into transports, prisoners filling every seat, every corner. Ships lifted off, engines screaming, dodging. Fire from Dominion reinforcements, the Vigilant Dawn and other Terran vessels formed a shield wall, intercepting enemy fire, sacrificing hull after hull so the transports could break free. Explosions lit the void. Dominion ships closed in. But then, Earth's fleet surged forward one last time, tearing a path through. The transports jumped to safety. When the prisoners finally disembarked on Terran ships, silence reigned. Aliens of every kind stared at their rescuers, unsure. Then slowly one dropped to their knees in gratitude. Another followed. Soon the hangars were filled with voices crying, praising, thanking. Children, not human, wrapped their arms around Marines' legs. Sobbing into their armor, Vale stood among them, exhausted, his rifle cracked, his body bruised. He looked at the chaos and smiled faintly. Worth it, he whispered. Back on Earth, the President received the reports. Images of human soldiers freeing not just their own, but every captive they found filled every channel. The world roared. In pride, the colonies sang in unity, but in the shadows of the galaxy, the Dominion seethed. They had been wounded, their lair destroyed, their captives stolen, and their pride shattered by a species that refused to fear them. The Dominion began to gather. Armies stirred. War engines lit, and for the first time in centuries, the Dominion spoke a single promise across the void. Humanity will pay. The galaxy trembled. News of humanity's raid on the Dominion's lair spread faster than light itself. Images of Marines rescuing not only human children, but thousands of alien captives, ignited sparks of rebellion on worlds long enslaved. Across space, whispers rose. The humans fight for everyone. The Dominion can bleed. The Dominion can fall. For centuries, no one had dared believe it. But now, because of humanity, the galaxy had hope, and the Dominion had fury in the black heart of Dominion space. A massive structure stirred. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a station. It was something worse. A weapon. The Dread Spire. A fortress ship so large it eclipsed moons long whispered about but never seen. Built to crush entire civilizations, its engines could warp storms across systems. Its cannons could split planets open. The Dominion unleashed it now, not to conquer, not to capture, but to erase humanity, when it rose from the shadow of a Dian. Star its hull, glowing with rivers of red energy, the galaxy fell silent, and Earth prepared for the fight of its life. On the resolute Admiral Hayes stood before the fleet. Her voice echoed across every ship, to every soldier, every sailor, every pilot. The Dominion believes this weapon will frighten us. They believe we will run. They are wrong. Did not. Cross the stars to bow. We came to bring our children home. And we came to bring justice. Today, we end the Dominion's reign of terror. Her final words cut through the comes like thunder. Stand firm. Stand together. Today, humanity fights. For the galaxy, the fleet roared back as one. The Dread Spire entered the system where Earth's fleet waited. Its shadow fell across Terran ships, so massive it blotted out starlight. Then it fired. One blast. One strike. A Terran cruiser vanished, split in two by a beam of crimson energy. Hundreds died in an instant. Shock rippled across the fleet, but no one turned away. Return fire, Hayes commanded. Railguns thundered. Plasma beams tore across the void. Missiles screamed through blackness. They struck the Dread Spire's shields in waves, explosions flashing like suns. The weapon didn't flinch. Its commander's voice crackled, across open channels. Your defiance ends here. Hayes leaned forward. Not today. Direct fire wasn't enough. The Dread Spire's shields held, so humanity chose the only path left. Get inside. Dozens of dropships launched from Terran carriers, weaving through flak and fire. Fighters formed shields, sacrificing themselves to clear the way. Marines gritted their teeth as their transports shook under blasts, alarms screaming, hulls cracking. Some didn't make it, but others punched through. Sergeant Vale's squad was among them. Their dropship slammed into the Dread Spire's surface, cutting into its hull like a blade. Marines poured into corridors of black metal, weapons blazing. Fighting through endless waves of Dominion soldiers, the largest battle of their lives had begun. Inside, the Dread Spire was a nightmare. Walls pulsed like flesh, veins of energy glowing red. The air reeked of ash and chemicals. Screams echoed through the hall's prisoners' experiments. Fuel for the Dominion's cruelty, Vale's squad fought room to room, their boots sliding on blood, their weapons never cooling. Where's the core? Marine shouted over the din Vale. Pointed ahead, his eyes burning with determination. Follow the heat, that's where monsters keep their hearts. They pushed deeper, closer to the weapon's pulse. Outside, the battle raged. Terran destroyers rammed Dominion escorts, detonating in fiery sacrifice. Carriers launched waves of fighters, half never returning. Admiral Hayes clenched the railing on the bridge of the Resolute. Every death weighed on her shoulders, but she stood tall. Push harder. If that fortress fires again, whole worlds will burn. A Dominion fleet admiral laughed across channels. Your courage is wasted. You will die as every other species has died before you. Hayes glared at the void. Then watch closely. Humanity dies hard. Vale squad reached the central chamber. The core of the Dread Spire pulsed like a living heart, a massive sphere of red energy suspended by jagged spires. Around it, Dominion scientists worked feverishly, protected by guards. Vale raised his rifle. This ends now. The Marines opened fire. The chamber erupted in chaos. Dominion defenders shrieked, charging with claws and blades. Humans fought back with fury, every strike another promise kept to those who had suffered under the Dominion. Vale slammed an explosive pack onto the core stabilizer. Sparks flew. We set the charge. We crippled this monster. But the Dominion. Commander appeared taller than before, its body enhanced with dark machinery. Glowing with raw power, "You will not destroy progress," it hissed. Vale raised his rifle, voice steady. "We don't destroy progress. We destroy monsters." The battle for the core began. Above, the Terran fleet gave everything. Entire ships rammed the dread Spire, their crews shouting Earth's name before impact. Missiles streaked into the fortresses. Hull, shields cracked. Fire blossomed across its surface, and yet it kept firing. Another beam tore through a Terran carrier, vaporizing thousands in a flash. The fleet wavered, then steadied. Admiral Hayes spoke again, her voice carrying through fire and fear. "For our children, for the galaxy. Fight on." And they did. Inside, Vale Squad fought the Dominion commander with everything they had. Blades clashed against rifles. Plasma burned. Marines fell, but others rose to take their place. Finally, Vale rammed his knife into the commander's throat, snarling, "This is for every child you stole." The monster gurgled, black fire pouring from its mouth, before collapsing into the core. Energy flared. Stabilizers cracked. Vale's voice thundered through. "Comes charges set. Get out." The Marines sprinted, dragging the wounded as the core began to collapse. Above, sensors lit up. The dread Spire's energy spiked, climbing beyond control. Hayes' eyes widened. "All ships fall back. It's going to blow." The end of a Titan. Dread Spire screamed as it tore itself apart. Red light burst from its heart, shattering spires, splitting holes. Dominion ships around it disintegrated in the blast. The fortress that was supposed to erase humanity became nothing more than fire and ash. The Terran fleet watched in silence as the light faded. Then cheers erupted. For the first time in history, the Dominion's greatest weapon had fallen. The price had been terrible. Thousands of Terran lives lost. Entire ships gone. But humanity had done the impossible. The Dominion had been shattered. Yet in the darkness of the galaxy, the war was far from over. Other Dominion fleets stirred. Their leaders screamed for vengeance. And humanity, battered but unbroken, stood. Ready? Admiral Hayes stared into the stars, her voice quiet but firm. "They thought we would fear them. They thought wrong. We will finish this war." The galaxy held its breath, because Earth had just proved one truth no empire could ignore. When humanity fights, empires fall. The dread Spire was gone, its burning fragments scattered across the void, glowing like falling stars. Where once a weapon of fear had ruled, now only silence remained. Human ships floated in the aftermath, battered, broken, scarred, but alive. And inside those ships, thousands of freed captives, human and alien, looked out into space and knew the truth. The Dominion had been beaten, not destroyed, not erased, but beaten, and it was humanity who had done it. On Earth, the skies were crowded. Families filled spaceports, their eyes searching the heavens. Every screen carried the same feed. Terran transports entering orbit, battered hulls streaked. With burn marks, the first hatch opened. Marines stepped out, armor cracked and scorched, carrying children in their arms. Human children. The crowd erupted. Mothers screamed in joy. Fathers fell to their knees. Siblings rushed forward, clutching their brothers and sisters as though they would never let go again. Reporters wept openly as the images streamed across the galaxy. But it wasn't only human children who came home. Behind them stepped aliens. Of every kind, eyes wide with wonder and disbelief. They too had been rescued. They too had been carried from cages by human hands. And for the first time in living memory, the galaxy saw a species that did not just protect its own, it chose mercy for all. In the shining halls of the Galactic Council, panic reigned. Delegates shouted, wings flaring, tails slamming against polished floors. The humans have declared war, one cried. They will bring the Dominion's wrath upon us all, another wailed. But others spoke differently. They freed our people, a scaled representative whispered. Our children were taken long ago. We never saw them again. But the humans brought theirs home. The chamber grew restless. Fear battled with admiration. Silence battled with hope. The council had stood silent when New Carthage screamed. But now, silence no longer seemed safe. From Earth, the president stood before the galaxy. Her image appeared on every channel, every relay, every screen. Was calm, but her eyes burned with fire. To the Dominion, you stole our children. You tortured the innocent. You believed fear would protect you. But humanity does not bow. Humanity does not break. We brought our children home, and we brought yours too. She leaned closer, her words sharp as steel. From this day forward, we will not fight alone. Every world that has suffered under the Dominion, stand with us. Rise with us. We will finish this war. Together, her words carried like thunder. Across the galaxy, millions listened. And for the first time, millions believed. Celebrations filled cities, but grief lingered too. Rows of Terran soldiers were honored, names spoken in solemn ceremonies. Flags draped coffins. Families wept and saluted. Humanity had won, but the cost had been high. Sergeant Vale stood in the crowd, his armor polished, children clinging to him. His squad was half gone. But when he saw the freed prisoners smiling, laughing, holding hands with their families, he knew it had been worth every drop of blood. One alien child, feathered and trembling, tugged on his sleeve. You saved us. Why? Vale knelt, his voice steady. Because no child should ever be left in a cage. Not human, not anyone. The child's eyes filled with tears. Then you are not just human, you are hope. Deep in the dark heart of the galaxy, the Dominion's leaders gathered. Their voices hissed, their claws clenched. The dread Spire was gone, one of their lairs destroyed. Thousands of their prisoners freed, their fleets humiliated before billions of eyes. Humanity must burn, one snarled. They have exposed us. Another hissed. They have united the galaxy against us. The Dominion began to move, fleets mobilized. Armies rose, new weapons stirred in hidden factories. The war was not over. It had only begun.